We go. Thank you, Janelle. Part 2 of the recording now, after a little internet burp. And so, as I was just saying, we're carrying on with our discussion of requests. We made some important distinctions about requests last week, and did some practice. And this week we're going to go through a similar practice, but talk about different distinctions about requests. So the first distinction I'd like you to think about for a minute, maybe just write yourself a note about what it means to you. It's the distinction between a request and a need. Think about that and maybe write your own definition of what a request is and what a need is. And I'll be quiet for 2 minutes while you do that. If you want to put your answer into the chat, you can, or you can raise your hand and say, what's the difference that makes a difference for you between a request and a need whenever you're ready. I like what either Beth or Don or both of them said. I make requests as a result of a need. Anybody else have maybe a definition of a need that you use in your own experience? A need is within oneself, whereas a request extends to another based on the need. Yeah. Juliana.
So a need is that life energy that is alive in me at the moment. Okay, that is most important for me in the moment. And then that energy moves me to take some action to meet that need. And I take that action by either making a request of myself or a request of somebody else. So that's what the difference would be.
Yeah. And Purva puts it in slightly different words. Thank you, Juliana. What's propelling me to action is a need, and a request is a strategy to meet my needs. Yeah, I like that. I really like the direction all of you are pointing here. That really is very clear. Tanya says, I share needs with other people, and humans. A request feels more personal and unique to how I'd like a particular need to be met in the moment. Yeah, so requests are related to preferences. I like that. Need is internal, while request is something that you make to another person or even to yourself for some action. And Saya says, an expression of a need asking for support to be met, while needs are energy itself to be held dearly and not necessarily needs to be expressed. Yeah, I like these answers. And I found out a way. I love brevity. And so one way of looking at it for me is needs answer the question why, and requests answer the question how. Need is core and universal, can be transferred. A request is specific, time-bound, person-specific, creative, open, but can also be transferred. Great. I'm not going to read that last part because that's the next distinction to talk about, I think. There's one more first. What's the difference between a request and a wish? So now we already know what a request is. What's a wish, and how does that relate to this whole thing? What's it about for you? What's a wish, and how's it different from a request? Let's see here. Oh, sometimes you may not communicate your wish, but requests could be communicated. At least in NVC language, we're communicating our requests. A wish is less time bound and less transferable. Yes, those are pointing in the direction that I think is important for us. I notice that I often start with a wish, and a wish is often future oriented. It's like something that, like, wouldn't it be fun for us to get together and have dinner or meet together in Japan? Wouldn't that be fun? That's a wish. Whereas a request is something that can happen right now. So requests are always in the present moment. Wishes can be either in the present moment or in the future. Wishes are also generally more vague than requests. In NVC, we do the best we can to make our requests concrete and specific so that someone can make a very clear image of what it is that we'd like them to do. Yeah. Okay. Then the last distinction before we do a different kind of practice is, you probably already have intuited it. What's the difference between a request and a demand? Anybody got any ideas about this distinction? A request, there's a willingness to hear no. And with demands, demand is permanent, fixed, less flexible on timing, more adamant. Request is open to a no as an answer, while demand isn't. Yes, this is pointing in the right direction. Rob.
Yeah, right. That last one, just you can sometimes tell if the outcome goes astray and how you react. You know, are you not attached to outcome? Then it would probably be a request.
Oh. Yeah, and how does attachment show up? That's the thing. That's really the key to the key distinction is what happens in us when we're attached to the outcome. And for me, I think the critical part of this distinction is that I'm going to punish the person who doesn't comply with my demand. That's actually the definition of a demand, is if I don't get what I tell you to do, you're going to pay. I'm either going to punish you, or I'm going to withdraw something, some need from you, access to a need. And so it's a demands are a strategy of control and domination. whereas requests are a strategy for partnership. And Beth or Don say the manner in which it is asked, a request is negotiable. A demand is an order, right? And of course, we know what happens if we don't comply with orders. We get punished. So, by the way, you can, if you don't get what you want and you've done all your NVC work and you're sad, you make a request and the other person says no, and you feel sad, that does not make it a demand. Sadness is not, for me anyway, other people might disagree, but for me, sadness is just the natural consequence of having a need not met yet. Whereas if I want to punish the other person, I'm making a demand. So I might actually be quite strong in making a request. I might ask over and over and over again, and you might even think I'm attached to the outcome. Only I know whether I'm attached. You can't tell from the outside. I could ask, I mean, I'm thinking about a baby. You know, I mentioned last week that we had a new baby living next door. And I don't think she has made a single demand yet. I don't think she's capable of making a demand. But we hear her. We hear her asking for what she wants. We hear her saying please many, many times a day. And if she doesn't get what she wants right away, because the parents guess wrong, or grandma and grandpa are also there, if somebody's guessing wrong about what the request is, the baby will keep crying. That does not make it a demand. Babies can't punish until they get to be about 2. Then if you've had a 2-year-old, you know that by then the domination system has been installed. And they will mirror exactly what you've been telling them for the last 2 years. And then the more skillful they get with their language, the better they'll get at manipulation, just like us. Believe me, I have 2 kids that have grown up, and I taught them to be master manipulators when they're little. They didn't know NVC then. But the main point I want to make is if you don't get what you want and you feel sad, it doesn't mean you make a demand. If you don't get what you want and you ask 50,000 times, it does not make it a demand unless you want to punish if you don't get it. So forgive yourself for really wanting what you want. Just get creative. And today, what we're going to be working on with these connection requests is how you get creative so that you don't have to keep asking over and over again, because you're going to create partnership rather than do it all on your own. So we've already covered this, but just to review, these are how we know, these are like I see your hand and we'll go there in just a second. These are the 5 elements of a request as I like to think about it. Other people may have different strategies for how they think about it, but this is what works for me. If I state it in the positive, it's concrete and specific. It's something the other person can do right now. It's connected to needs, and I'm open to outcome. And you'll see as we explore connection requests in just a minute, that connection requests automatically contain these 5 elements. So let's check the question that's on the board. I think it was Chrysalis. Are you there?
Sorry, there was a delay there. Thank you. Thank you for catching that. I think I'm going to try to be clear about my question, my request. I noticed that when the conditions or that description of request, what was just shared, I tried to capture the screen there. What I find is that I'm not in a state where I yeah, thank you. Where I think most importantly, fundamentally, I'm not actually open to a no because my need is so great. So it's interesting because I can hear you and understand intellectually that then I'm playing into the domination. I don't feel that way. You know, in the moment, I'm feeling totally I'm cornered and I don't have power in this relationship or whatever that's basically the last two instances. That's kind of, I'm seeing that I'm still feeling that way. So I don't know if that's quite the right question. I think what I'm getting is like, it's still like, I need to do the inner work so that I can be in a position to make a request. I don't know. I just know this is where I get tripped up.
Yeah, well, it's a wonderful question to be living into right now, because I think what I heard you say is that the reason, I'd have to go back and see exactly what you said, but you said something like, the reason I'm attached is because my need has not yet been met. And that's almost how I would put it. I would say I feel sad because my need has not yet been met, but I am attached because I think there's only one way to get my need met. So it's actually a creativity crisis rather than a need crisis. So when my mind fools me into thinking there's only one strategy to get my need met, then I will suffer, and so will everybody around me. And so self-empathy is the process for me of loosening up my demand so that I can see that maybe there's another way that I haven't thought of yet. I'm just in the middle of a creativity crisis. I just haven't yet opened my mind to the possibility that maybe there's at least 2 ways to get my need met. In fact, I imagine there might be 3 ways or 5 ways or 17 ways to get my need met if I really take my time, stay connected to the need, and divorce myself from the idea that only one other person can meet that need or one other strategy can meet that need. Does that make any sense to you, Chrysalis?
Yeah, what I mainly hear from that is way, way, way more patience. And then both of these instances, and generally when I get caught up in this part in MVC, is there's an experience of urgency and things happen so fast. Like the person says something, I say something, and then I also feel an immediate need.
Yes.
And then there's this experience of like, yeah, it just spirals downward from there, essentially. So the first thing I'm hearing is, for me, is like I have to take another level of actually practicing patience and trusting that. Anyway, something about that. Yeah.
Yes,
Because
patience is a critical skill for sure in navigating our own attachment. And it's like you can't be patient and attached. It's like you're either one or the other in my experience. And so if I'm noticing this urgency, then I actually want to slow down enough to really be with the urgency. I remember once, this is embarrassing to share this, but this is well after I'm a certified trainer. But I have no idea what the observation was that stimulated me, but I wanted Jory to do something. And I asked her, I did perfect NVC as far as I could tell. I said, what I was feeling, what the observation was, what I was needing. And I said, I said it with warmth, would you be willing to blah, whatever the blah was? She said no, for whatever reason, and didn't work for her. And so I tried again. I asked a second time, maybe with a little bit of attitude with it, but no, she still didn't want to do whatever it was that I asked. And I literally stamped my feet. I was so frustrated and angry in that moment because I could not think of another way to get my need met in that moment. So that was a hugely important moment for me to realize just exactly what you were saying, Chrysalis. In the heat of the moment, sometimes it's really hard to contact our creativity. And especially if we're focusing on an action request, something I want the other person to do. And that's why connection requests can be so helpful, because if I don't have the patience, connection requests slow me down enough to actually have more patience. So hopefully we'll get a chance to see that as we keep going.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So there's some other good questions. I'm going to let them go for right now and see if the questions get answered as we go, especially this thing about boundaries. That's a really great way to look at it. So let's see here. Let's do a quick practice to get you set up for making. So just to be clear, there's 3 kinds of requests. Last week we really focused on action requests. This is when we ask somebody to take an action on behalf of the needs that we've identified are important. The other 2 kinds of requests are connection requests, and they're feedback and confirmation. So in a way, this is the ABCs of making a request. So think of something you'd like to receive from another person, and describe what you would like to receive from whom. When you're ready, consider, how do you feel about asking them for this gift? And focus on the feeling that comes alive in you right now. Feelings mean focusing on sensations in the body and emotions. Why do you feel that way? This points us to our needs. So the next question gets us to the same place as the last one, but slightly through a different doorway. If you receive what you would like from the other person, what needs of yours would be fed? I revealed the next question for those of you who are done with the last one. People do this at a different speed, so take your own time. How could you ask for what you want? What words would you use in your culture? And this is like you writing your own dialogue. What specifically would you say? to convey your request. The next question is an empathic question. So in your mind's eye, in your imagination, imagine that you make your request to the other person and make a guess, make a prediction of how they might feel when they hear your request. So this is one choice that we have when we're in the process of making a request. We can use our empathic imagination to find out how the other person might feel. But we can also use a feedback request here. So we could put our action request to the side for just a moment and make the request in a way that invites the other person to give us feedback about our request. So, for example, if I had a desire to go out to a restaurant for dinner, I could just go the direct route and say, Jory, I'm feeling hungry, and I'm also feeling a little bit tired. I don't really feel like I have the energy to make food. Would you be willing to go with me to, would you go with me down to the local Thai food place? So that's an action request. You can say yes or no to that. But if I want to slow things down and practice a little patience, I could say it slightly differently. I could say, hey, I'm feeling kind of hungry and tired, and I'd really like to. I was thinking about going out to dinner tonight. How do you feel about that idea? So I actually ask her, rather than me imagining how she feels, I ask her to tell me how she feels. That's a wonderful example of a request because it's stated in the positive. It's what I do want. I want to know, I want her to tell me how she feels. It's concrete and specific. I'm asking her to tell me her feelings and maybe her needs. It's something she can do right now. I've connected my request to my own needs. And of course, I don't know whether I'm open to outcome or not unless she says no. That's the only time I ever find out whether I'm open to outcome is if the other person says no. I think I'm open to outcome, but I don't know until she says no. So write it down in your own ways. How could you make a feedback request using your own language based on the request, the action request that you would like to make.
Jim, could you offer a couple of things that you might say to really double check that the person means what they say? I think I might have raised this before, but I'm struggling in my life with a couple of people that I need to be able to rely on who don't always give me the honest answer. They sometimes say what they would like to think of themselves to be the person to say that kind of thing, or because
Yeah.
it makes them feel good, but it's not always what they really mean, and they don't really have any intention to follow through.
Yeah, so your intuition is that so there's some other need alive in them that might be preventing them from being as honest as you sense would really support connection. Is that right?
It's
So
a really helpful way to frame.
yeah.
And then I
So you
wonder
can,
if
yeah, you can use empathy in that moment. So they answer your question, and maybe you say, "Oh, so it sounds like for you, it's really you think it might be a good idea for us to go out to the Thai restaurant tonight," because that's what they just said, right? And then you go to your honesty. You say, "I feel scared right now. I feel scared because I really want to protect our relationship, and I don't want to be in a world where I make demands anymore. And so it's really important to me that we slow things down so that we can get as fully connected to all the needs on the table so that nobody submits anymore." So then I would use my other kind of request after I said something like that. I would then use my confirmation request. So I'll say it all again, and then I'll end with the request. So thank you for letting me know that you're willing, and I feel scared right now because I've had the experience in the past of people saying yes to me, and then I find out later that they mean no. And so I really want to live in a world where I slow things down and really get a sense of mutual connection and mutual decision making. What are you hearing is important to me? So I vulnerably share my own needs, and then I find some kind of a language that invites them to then reflect empathically what's important to me. And now they might just say, "Oh, don't give me that NVC crap again." That's always possible that you get that. So then you just go to empathy. I mean, basically, you have set yourself up to put giraffe ears on. Whenever we make a request, the thing that follows every request, whether it's an action request, a feedback request, or a confirmation request, is giraffe ears, empathy ears. So we don't hear what the other person thinks when we have giraffe ears on. We only hear what they're feeling and what they're needing. And so if they say, "Don't give me that NVC crap," and I say, "Oh, so you're really looking for a kind of communication that seems really authentic to you," or whatever your guess is. So you just stick with empathy rather than trying to defend yourself. And they say, "Well, that's not exactly right. Can you say it again, what you wanted me to do?" Yeah. I'm happy to. I want to slow things down between us because I really want us to have mutuality. Mutuality is so important. I want to enter into decision making collaboratively, cooperatively. So collaboration and cooperation are really important to me. And now I'm pretty confident they've heard me because I've said it 4 times. And so then I'll probably go to a feedback request. How do you feel? I've let the other requests go about going to dinner now, but now I want to know how we're doing in our dialogue. How is this for you to hear? So I dropped the project of going out to dinner temporarily. And instead, I'm staying focused on connection. And if I'm so hungry that I can't stay anymore, I say, I need to get a bag, go to the refrigerator and get a carrot to chew on while we finish this conversation, or whatever. You know, I can find other ways to meet my need. Does that help, Elspeth?
Super helpful, yeah. And I really need those examples, because when I'm in it, I get lost. I have the feeling, and I know what I mean, and I do try and say some of those things, but I can see what you're saying about repeating it
Yeah,
and just really staying with the assertion that you really want to be not subjugating yourself or the other person.
exactly.
I think this one person in particular, it's just really hard for he's spent his whole life operating in a
Yeah,
dominating, submissive way. So it's really important. I can see I'm going to have to do some repeated work on that to rebuild some of that trust, which isn't about
absolutely.
me, but I can still do a lot.
Exactly right. I mean, we've all been educated to think that we
Mm.
only have two choices when somebody asks us of anything. We either submit or we rebel. And NVC offers this third way, which is, can we connect? And through connection, can we find something that works for everybody? So nobody has to submit and nobody has to rebel ever again.
Can you say the couple of those words you said? Cooperation. There were a couple of words that you offered there. Do you remember those? I
Cooperation,
can-
collaboration, mutuality. Those are the
That's it.
three big ways that I usually express it.
Thank you. It's so helpful to find that real language. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. So think about how you can ask for a confirmation. This is usually the most uncomfortable kind of a request to make, is a confirmation request. Here we've been super vulnerable, and now it takes courage to ask for the other person to reflect what's important to us. And so the more vulnerable we are, the more courage it takes. So see if you can find a way in your own language to express a confirmation request. And remember that the point of the confirmation request is not to test whether the other person heard your needs. It's a test of whether you were able to convey your needs. So you're the one being assessed, not the other person. I want to make sure, honey, that I was clear about my needs. I just want to live in a cooperative. I can make myself cry just saying this. I really want to live in a cooperative relationship with you. Can you just let me know if I'm able to say that in a way that you can hear me? Yes, honey, you really want to cooperate. Oh, what a big relief that is for me. Great. So let's go back to small groups and talk about these two kinds of requests and how you might utilize them in your own life. So again, we'll have 15 minutes. That'll give us a little bit of time for Janet's question and anything else that comes up for the checkout. And I think groups are mostly the same. I haven't been looking at the group, so I may need to do some adjusting. So if you end up by yourself for a minute or two, just be patient and I'll add someone to your group as soon as I can. So here you go. See you back here in 15 minutes. Look who came. Jory's here.
Hey, Jory.
Hi.
Welcome.
So sweet to see you all. I'm so glad I got home in time.
Yeah, Janelle,
Yeah.
you got your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to check with Tanya if you wanted to request if we go back into the breakout room with Rob and finish what just came up. You're on mute.
Can't hear you,
Tanya,
Tanya.
you're muted.
Oh, I said that sounds like a lovely idea to me. Thank you.
Okay,
Hi,
so we'll do
Jory.
that at the end.
Yeah, at the end, we'll put you together, or do you want that
Okay.
now? It's easier for us if we do it together. Yeah, at the
Okay,
end.
yeah, great.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, happy to do it at the end.
Okay.
Thanks.
Mm,
Thank you.
Anybody want to share anything about what happened in the small group for you? What'd you learn? What'd you like?
Okay, so I have one thing. Sorry, I
Great.
forgot to raise my hand.
No
No
problem.
problem.
Okay, so I like when you said this really made things clear for me when you said that a demand is when you want to punish the person and you punish them. And then I heard you say on another time, not this time, but like, it's dogging for your needs otherwise. So that made it clear for me because sometimes I thought, okay, I'm doing a demand, but then I thought, well, I'm not punishing the person and I don't want to punish them, but I am dogging for my needs and I am open to some resolution other than just dropping it. But that made it really clear about the punishment thing. So thank you for the clarity.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad that when I got that insight, that clarity in NBC, it changed everything for me.
Yeah.
I could see that I could keep asking for what I want. And then if I stay with these connection requests, it might open up some dialogue that could really get creative. Francesca.
Yeah, I just want to say a quote from Marshall that just goes through my head so often. One of his quotes, ask, ask, ask.
Yeah, she's good at it too. Francesca.
He trained me.
I wanted to share that what went on in our group this last time was so powerful. I felt so connected. It was incredible and just totally wonderful. The honesty, the vulnerability, it was just incredibly wonderful. So I just wanted to share that.
Oh, thanks, Francesca. I love
nice.
hearing that kind of feedback. And
Yeah.
I get to see the two people that you were with because I have access to that information, and how sweet that
Yeah.
that you had that experience with them, and I'm grateful for that feedback. Lynn. Whoops, you're
Oops, muted.
unmuted.
Unmute, please.
Well, I have a question because I have this friend that I used to go down to the pool with every day, which I need for my health. She likes it for her health, but we would check in with each other, and it was just lovely. And then she's got a new boyfriend, and she's just disappeared. And I could say, could you please, I could have the preamble and then say, could we please meet at 4:00 on Wednesday? So that would be sort of immediate and specific. But really, I don't need her to meet me at 4:00 on Wednesday. I just need her to become more available and find times to go to the pool together. So I don't know how to ask that.
How about you be her and I'll be you?
Okay.
So, of course, I don't know the whole story, but gosh, you know what, Lynn, I really used to enjoy those adventures we'd have at the pool. And I've been noticing I'm longing for that again, and it just hasn't been happening yet. So I wonder if you'd be willing to tell me if there's anything getting in the way for you saying yes to going to the pool.
Well, I used to enjoy those times too, but I've gotten so busy. I mean, John takes so much time. He just needs so much time. And then I'm on these committees where I'm the secretary, and I can't miss them. And I'm just busy. I would like to come down there, but it just keeps not working.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're kind of you're just jamming as fast as you can. You've got lots of things on your plate, and as much as you'd like to go to the pool, right now you just don't know how you could find the time.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean I don't want to. It just means I can't get it high enough on my list.
Yeah, you've got a priority list, and right now going to the pool is lower on the priority list so that it has to drop off, at least for the moment.
Yeah, and I hear your mourning too in that. That's not exactly what you would like either.
So as Lynn, could one of you say something like, well, is there another way for us to get together occasionally? Or, I mean,
you be you. You're doing a great job. now I'll be her, or Jory can be her.
Okay.
So say what you just said.
So I'm me now, right?
Yeah, you're you.
Okay, so I just miss being with you and having you as my friend. And I know it takes time to walk down to the pool, change your clothes, get in, get out. so I'm wondering if there's something else we could do just to keep up our connection.
Yeah. Okay. So this is, by the way, this is an example of a feedback request. And so what happens in my brain when she makes this request is my brain gets busy trying to figure out how I can say yes to her. She's my friend, so I want to say yes to her. I'm just got these other things going on in my life. And so what comes up for me is, gosh, I really would love to find a way to say yes. I think the thing that would be most helpful for me would be how, I got to eat every day. And I guess you have to eat every day. Maybe we could figure out a time when, and how would you feel about John going with us? It's so much easier for me if I can include John. Would that work for you?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Well, let me be honest.
At least here you can be. They're not here.
I'd be happy to do some things with John. And in fact, I know he's a pianist and I love to go to concerts. So I've invited the two of you to come with me a couple of times. And I don't know what all got in the way. So I would be happy to get to know him better and do some things with you all. But I also would just like to have you as my friend and have the kind of conversations that we have when we're alone together.
Ah, right. Yeah. So you're really longing for a kind of connection that you really treasure between just our kind of the special quality of our relationship.
Yeah, you'd like some girl time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So an idea came up for me as you said that. You reminded me, of John's performance. That he's got a performance coming up soon, and maybe you could go with me and watch John play, and then we could hang out beforehand and or maybe after and get a snack or something like that. How would that be for you?
That would be nice.
Yeah. So
creative of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It takes some creativity in our minds when we're wanting something and we had it, and now we need to find another way to recreate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hope that's helpful. And you want to try something like that with her, and then let us know what happens. Just remember, keep your giraffe ears on. And the worst thing that can happen is you connect.
Well, when you ask us how I feel when I make this request, I realized that with the relationship we had a year ago last summer, I would have felt totally comfortable asking for this. Now I have a little fear that she's going to feel it as a demand because I'm more needy than she is now.
Yeah.
And what if you just acknowledge that to her, that, this may sound like a demand to you, but it really isn't. It's just a longing for our connection.
Oh, and I'm wondering if we could do something like just have a cup of tea and limit it to 30 minutes.
Yeah, something like that. To figure out what works for her. I love that idea, to make that kind of proposal.
And Jory's suggestion is so spot on, because this is going on in you, this fear. And even if you don't express it, she's going to get it. She's going to get it through your body language and through the energy.
Yeah. And she'll interpret it in her own way,
which is likely to be as aggression. If unexpressed feelings are often experienced as aggression by the other person. So if you've got the fear going on for you, just expose it. Something's different for me now than it was last summer, and I feel shy. I feel a little bit shy, or whatever the feeling is for you, or apprehensive about bringing this up. And so I wanted to start by naming that. And then I really do have a longing to kind of re-engage with you. How's that for you to hear?
Yeah, and what he just did was be very vulnerable. He was expressing vulnerability.
Yeah. So some things to try for homework.
Yes, thank you very much, both of you.
Yeah, thank you for bringing it up. I'm sure it's a gift for lots of people when I see their faces going like this and hearts happening. Yeah, so
and we'll finish with Juliana and then a couple of announcements at the end.
So Jim, I had said that apple on the cherry on the cake and all. But what you had said was the glue of connection. Requests are the glue of connection. Those were your words. I found it.
Yes.
And yes, and I want you to please just repeat about, if you don't mind, what you said about this connection bit. You said we have 3 options. Now NVC gives us this 3rd option: rebellion, submission, and this one of connection. Please, if you could repeat that. And
Yeah.
also once you said something about power. Power with how requests are an opportunity for power. So just combine all of that and tell me. Please.
Yeah, summarize
It's
the
gonna be a whole class.
yeah, summarize the whole class. That's great. Yeah, so if we live through the education that we've all been given in a domination culture, we think we only have 2 choices: to submit to a request or a demand. We can't even hear a request when we're really in that frame. So we think our only choice is to submit or rebel. In other words, to say yes or to say no, and usually to say no with kind of a edge of getting even, or I'll show you kind of a thing. And NVC gives us the option to have a 3rd way, which is to collaborate, to pause before the yes or the no, and in order to connect and to use the sense of connection that we gain through dialogue to find a strategy that can contribute to everybody's needs in the moment.
Yeah, it's like having a puzzle and then working it out together to figure out how you resolve whatever it is so you can move forward.
And often the most challenging part of the puzzle is just to name the puzzle, like Lynn was just talking about. It's really not, it's about having this chance to be together and have a chance to be together. But before we can get there, we have to work on our apprehension and our fear and how life has changed now. And so that also might require empathy work. So getting an empathy buddy, which is one of the announcements we're going to move to. So is that helpful, Juliana?
Thank you for that. The
Is that
power.
Yeah, no, the power part. Yeah, so every time we make a request in the way that Marshall is talking about a request, which is an offering, it's a gift. So I'm saying, hey, this would work for me, and I only want to receive it if it works for you. So I'm sharing my power of creativity. I think this is going to work. So I'm sharing my power with you in the service of connection. If it doesn't work for you, then I don't want to do it. I don't want to live in a world of Jory and I have an agreement that we're probably, I would give us an A on it, maybe 90%, maybe 91%.
I'm curious.
That we won't submit anymore.
Yeah.
We will not say yes unless we mean it. And we won't take a yes unless we sense the other person means it.
Yeah. And to hear a yes with some sort of wiggle in it, that, it's not, just listen for that when it doesn't sound as
wholehearted
and enthusiastic or whatever that you would like, and then check it out. Because otherwise you pay a price for the connection between you and the other person.
Yeah. So Fifi, I want to make sure Fifi has a chance while everyone's still here, because it's almost it is the top of the hour. So can you hold it for just a second, Juliana?
Yes, Jim, sure.
So Fifi, what did you want to offer? You have a request.
I have a request. I have had someone request of me to have an empathy buddy. And I just think empathy buddies are the best. I would love everyone in the whole world to have an empathy buddy. But he lives in the United States. It sounds like he's between the West Coast and Central Time. The only thing he has a preference for is perhaps someone who is maybe somewhat experienced in NVC. And other than that, he had no preferences. But I'm going to put my email and phone number in the chat. And but he was very interested in getting an empathy buddy, and I would love it if someone, he's come to this practice group, and I would love it if someone in this practice group would be willing to try to make that work. And if it doesn't work, you know, we'll find another empathy buddy, but I was hoping there'd be some willingness here. But I'm happy to contribute to hopefully making this happen. And I think that's all. Anything else, Jim? Anything else I should say
Nope,
about
I
that?
think that's perfect. Thank you.
There's
Fifi.
there's one
Okay.
other question though. You said Central Mountain and Pacific time. That's 3 different hours. And I think if you could be more clear, he's either on one time or another, not
He
just
said
3 hours.
it sounds like he's not on one specific time.
Oh.
He said he was either in California, either in Pacific time or Central time. And so that's why I'm saying,
Okay.
I'm kind of going that way with it. He didn't give me a specific time. So I'm thinking any kind of, you know, mainland US would be fine.
Okay,
But thanks for asking for that clarification. I appreciate it.
thank you.
Okay, I'll
And-
put my name up here again.
Thank you, Fifi. So we do
Thank
all
you,
of
guys.
all of our classes in the spirit of compassionate giving and receiving. It's a fancy way of talking about donations. Right now, we're raising money for to help Maui's recovery. Specifically, we're collecting money for the Maui Food Bank. It's a charity here in Maui that makes sure that food goes to hungry people. And right now, sadly, there's lots of hungry people in Maui. And so money that we receive from you goes straight to we just pay it right forward to the Maui Food Bank. We've given them over $1,000 over the last since the fire happened a month ago. And we also got to go to a benefit concert night before last, where we helped raise over $200,000. And of course, it's going to take millions and millions and millions of dollars to repair and restore the lives of people and the culture that was lost. And so it's going to be a long, patient process. So I'm going to keep asking, ask. And so if you would like to put up $20, you can give it to the Maui Food Bank and just let us know that you did that. If there's a local charity where Maui's not the only place that suffered a disaster. And so if you'd rather give money to your local food bank, just write us a note and let us know what you did so we can savor it with you.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Yeah. And Julianne, let's go back to your question and finish it up. And then we'll go back, we'll have the after party.
Yeah. So you were just saying about until you get a clear yes, you all don't go ahead or something. Can you please just explain that?
Yeah, I would not say and until I had a sense of connection, I'm going to do my best not to say yes to a request.
Until you have a sense of connection.
Connection comes first. Connection first, and then either a yes or a no. That'd be the quickest way to say it, I think.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jody. Thank you, Jody.
Yeah, and I think we'll keep working on requests next week. This is a really juicy topic for people. And we'll try to do maybe we'll do some more role plays next week. Like Janet had one that came up that we didn't get to today. And so bring your own specific situations next week, and we'll see if we can role play them. And we'll be back.
And
I
I
have
just
one more question.
Okay.
Might you reconnect us to our groups?
Yes, I'm just going to start the breakout rooms again. If you don't want to go, don't go. If you do want to go, go. And if you want to go and there's nobody in your room, I'll do some adjusting so that that you've got somebody to hang out with for a while if you want to. And the 2 requests that were on the table, I got them, and I'm just keeping those groups active.
And Fifi has a message in the chat for all of you around having connection
With the empathy buddy.
Yeah, with the
she
empathy
mentioned.
buddy. Yeah,
Okay.
so I just want to make sure you make a copy of that so that when it's over, you have that information.
All right. See you next week, everybody. Aloha. And thank you so much for coming and all that you do to contribute to peace.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
so much.
Mahalo.